Driving from point A to point B may soon look and feel very different.
Too many students, not enough space? As UNT enrollment hits record highs, where will all the new students go?
And experts say Governor Greg Abbott may be stepping out of bounds just to make a point.
Broadcasting live from the University of North Texas, this is ntTV News at Noon.
4 people are dead and at least 8 are injured after a shooting in Louisville, Kentucky. Police say the lone gunman opened fire at Old National Bank's first-floor conference room at about 8:30 a.m. local time. Police believe the suspect had a connection to the bank and was possibly a former employee. Officers arrived within 3 minutes of being dispatched and found the gunman still firing. Officers then exchanged gunfire with the shooter, who is confirmed to be dead. At least 2 officers were shot. FBI and ATF are assisting with the investigation. There have been 15 mass shootings in the first 10 days of April and 146 total this year. My co-anchor Armando Berry has more on the shooting scare at the University of Oklahoma over the weekend.
Yeah, Sydney, around 9:24 p.m. last Friday, several calls reported to 911 that there was an active shooter at the University of Oklahoma near their on-campus library. More than 100 officers from multiple law enforcement agencies arrived at campus until 89 minutes later. The campus declared all clear as officials found that there was no evidence found at all. OU was the target of what is called swatting, which is when several people do fake 911 calls, disguising their number and location to draw a large police presence to a certain place. OU President Joseph Harroz Jr. said in an email to the campus family that officials believe the calls came from outside of the United States. The scared OU comes almost 2 weeks after the shooting attack in Nashville, Tennessee.
Thanks, Armando. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency is expected to take steps in the coming days to tighten restrictions on emission standards. The proposed rule changes, if put in place, would require 2/3 of all new passenger vehicles sold in the United States to be electric by 2032. The federal government isn't the only one trying to make changes. California regulators voted last year to ban the sale of new gasoline-powered cars by 2035. Other states are also expected to adopt these new rules.
At the same time, driverless cars are making their way to Dallas as well. Forms of self-driving like ride shares, public transport, trucking, and shipping are already in effect across the country. This month marks the 2-year anniversary of the self-driving service Rapid in Arlington. Since its launch in 2021, Rapid has provided more than 31,000 rides. While it's too early to say for sure, many experts predict that automated driving is the way of the future.
You know, I'm hearing automated cars, electric cars. I'm still not sure why they're changing this. Do you understand this?
I know a little bit, but not really too much. Let's go ahead and see what our weather anchor Peter can tell us a little bit about these electric cars. Peter?
Thanks, guys. Well, electric cars are not only around to cut and eliminate fuel costs, they also greatly reduce your car's carbon emissions, and they help the environment by slowing global warming. The investment bank UBS led a study that shows that by 2025, 20% of all cars sold will be globally electric, and by 2030, that number is expected to rise to 40%. Many experts are arguing that electric vehicles are and should be the future of transportation, and hopefully someday you'll see me driving one of my own. But let's look at the weather that we've got coming up while we think about that global warming stuff coming up. It's 70 degrees outside, which is honestly not too bad for the middle of April here. We're having kind of a long spring here in Texas. It feels like 70 right now, 6-mile-an-hour winds, just kind of cool outside. But then as we go into tonight, you'll see that's going to drop, obviously, once the sun goes down. It's going to be clear skies tonight. Clouds are going to clear up. 10-mile-an-hour winds, everything's going to be kind of calm. And then as we move into tomorrow, you'll see 75 degrees, a little bit cloudy, 7-mile-an-hour winds. So it's going to be a pretty calm day outside tomorrow and just in general this week. But I'll get back to you about that more later in the show. For now, back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Peter. In the coming days, an important vote is taking place that could change the future of affordable housing in the city of Dallas. ntTV's Charles Ware has more about the change this measure could bring. Charles?
Thanks, Armando. Council members will begin voting on a new comprehensive housing plan named DHP 33 that differs from past efforts by including racial equity elements and coverage the entire city. Councilmember Casey Thomas said, quote, "I think this is going to be a great foundation. We know home ownership is the key. Everyone needs a place to call home, and we want to provide the incentives that make it possible for people's dreams to become reality." He also said that more than a majority of council supports the proposal and there's no general opposition. Though the cost of the project will be large, the council believes that getting more lower-income family housing creates more wealth in the long term. The vote is scheduled for Wednesday, April 12th, and that's all the info I have on DHP 33. Back to y'all at the desk.
Thanks, Charles. By the looks of it, housing seems to be the most trending topic this season. For months, students at the University of North Texas have voiced concerns that UNT housing is focusing only on freshmen for the upcoming semesters. University officials have finally provided their side of the story. Let's take a look.
Living on campus is a vital part of the college experience. But can the University of North Texas offer that to every single one of its 40,000 plus students? Christine McCarver, a UNT junior, is experiencing on-campus housing for the first time while also being a resident hall assistant at West Hall.
Living on campus has been interesting. You know, I'm enjoying meeting new people and kind of missing out on the experience I had when I came in 2020. And you know, it's really beneficial because it's really bringing me out of my shell.
An increase in freshmen on campus not only changes the population, but it also affects the students who already attend this university.
Now it seems like the university really only cares about the freshmen, and there doesn't really seem to be any plan to help mediate that, additional transportation for students that don't have cars, which is why they're choosing to live on campus, or one or two washers that are broken, so that's one or two less we can use, and now I have to sit and wait.
With the focus seeming to be solely on freshmen, students are beginning to feel the uneasiness of being an upperclassman.
I've had some sophomore friends who wanted to stay on campus their sophomore year but weren't able to. They got denied because they turned the upper class residence halls into freshman residence halls. And I feel like that's not really fair.
Igosa, now going into his senior year, says it hurts to see the upperclassmen pushed to the side.
I feel like there's other sophomores or juniors or even seniors, in my case, that still wants to stay on campus that probably can't afford off-campus housing. All they can't afford is on-campus housing. And for them to not even have that option is really kind of sad.
Graduated senior and now resident community director for Rollins Hall, Efron Gannett, commented that the population of freshman students has grown by 24% and plans to repeat that in coming years, which makes his job a little bit harder.
Trying to help them understand that and try to help them navigate those things, I feel is a little more challenging because instead of having to meet maybe with 1 to 2 students per day, sometimes I have to meet with 10 to 12, and that I can't give every student the attention and the time that I want, and then to help them grow.
Gannett said that he has noticed a struggle for upperclassmen finding housing, but the goal remains to give freshmen a smooth transition to college life.
With the rise of freshman students, some challenges that I think we face as in housing is being able to cater for the needs of every student because they're living on their own for the first time. They're not used to being away from parents.
With UNT continuing to break its enrollment count every semester, students are starting to wonder, will this increase be better for students as a whole, or is UNT only focused on the numbers?
Unfortunately, these high enrollment issues are causing problems for more than just the students, and that affects more people than just right here at UNT.
That's right. The ongoing teacher shortage is stretching educators across the United States.
When we come back, we're going to take a look at how a group of Texas school districts is looking to bring in new hires.
All right, you're good. No registration, no entry. All right. Let me see your voter registration card, please.
I'm not registered to vote.
No registration, no entry.
Dude, my friends are already in there.
No registration, no entry.
What the?
Join the club. Register to vote today.
I'm here to rescue you.
Oh, my prince.
No so fast.
This story is going to be awesome.
Has the weight of stress and anxiety ever felt too heavy to overcome? Wish there was a safe place to confide in? Wish granted. At UNT, we offer counseling and testing services to students located on the 3rd floor of Chestnut Hall. UNT, we're here for you.
After a nearly 17-hour standoff, a 70-year-old woman was taken into custody in Tarrant County. The standoff began at about 4 p.m. on Thursday when police responded to a mental health call. All residents in the area were temporarily evacuated and nobody was injured. Multiple police departments and SWAT teams were involved.
The school year may be starting to wind down, but school districts are still searching for teachers. Over 60 districts have joined forces to host a massive job fair, as many classrooms are still staffed with long-term subs. Usually, districts are highly competitive when it comes to hiring, but with the ongoing teacher shortage and the struggle to bring in attendees at smaller job fairs, the districts agreed to try something new. The job fair began earlier this morning in Arlington and will last throughout the day.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott is pushing the state's parole board, to recommend a pardon for Sergeant Daniel Perry. On Friday, Perry was convicted of murder for shooting and killing a protester during a Black Lives Matter demonstration in 2020. CNN's Ed La Bandera explores the governor's controversial call in depth.
Guilty of the offense of murder. An Austin jury convicted Daniel Perry on Friday for the murder of Garrett Foster. The Army sergeant broke down after hearing the verdict. Perry shot and killed Foster during a Black Lives Matter protest in the summer of 2020. After the trial, Foster's family expressed their relief.
We're happy with the verdict. Very sorry for his family as well. There's no winners in this, and just glad it's over.
But this case is far from over. The very next day, Texas Governor Greg Abbott tweeted his vow to pardon Perry as quickly as possible and argued Texas has one of the strongest stand your ground laws of self-defense that cannot be nullified by a jury or a progressive district attorney. In the weeks after the murder of George Floyd, Black Lives Matter protests erupted all over the country. Garrett Foster joined the protests in Austin.
What you got it out tonight? They don't let us march in the streets anymore, so got to practice some of our rights.
Daniel Perry was a rideshare driver and had just dropped off a customer near a BLM protest on the downtown streets. Prosecutors said Perry ran a red light to turn into the crowd. This is where accounts differ. At the time, some witnesses say Perry deliberately instigated the altercation.
The driver intentionally and aggressively accelerated their vehicle into a crowd of people. That is extremely clear.
The lead investigator testified that video showed Perry did not accelerate but slowed down. Perry says Garrett Foster was carrying an assault-style rifle, which he was legally allowed to do, and pointed the gun at him. Perry fired his handgun several times at Foster, killing him. Perry's lawyers call it self-defense. But in the trial, prosecutors pointed to texts and social media posts Daniel Perry made that summer that suggested Perry was looking for a fight. In one, Perry wrote, "He might kill a few people on my way to work. They are rioting outside my apartment complex." Someone wrote back, "Can you legally do so?" Perry responded, "If they attack me or try to pull me out of my car, then yes." The Texas jury didn't buy the self-defense argument and issued a guilty verdict on the murder charge. Perry's lawyer says they're disappointed and will appeal.
You know, I was on a flight back to Dallas this morning, and although I slept for most of the way, what I did see was beautiful skies. But I hope that carries over into the week. What do you think?
I feel you. I recently got back from cold Kentucky, man. It was so cold. So I'm hoping we can get some warm Texas temperature coming up soon. Peter, what can we expect?
Thanks, guys. Yeah, let's take a look at our map right now. It is kind of really nice temperatures all around the map right now. We've got 69 in Bowie and Stevensville, and then 71 in Graham, 68 in Decatur. And then, you know, looking at our larger map, 70s across the map, 68, high 60s there in the east. So everything's very nice outside right now. This is the perfect time to really go outside and feel like it's spring. Won't last for very long. We know how Texas is. It's going to be 100 degrees probably next week, but we'll see. I'm not sure about that just yet. Let's look at our 7-day forecast and see what we've got coming up. We've got 75, 76, 78 in the next 3 days, so all about the same. It's going to hit 80 on Friday, and it is going to be cloudy, so keep in mind that's going to be a very humid 80. Might feel a little bit worse than that, but after that, it's going to dip just a little bit back down to 74 by Sunday, and then 78 on Monday. So really we're looking at pretty nice temperatures just throughout the rest of the week. It's going to get a little warmer down toward the end and into next week, but I think it's going to look really nice outside all week, and I think it'll be the perfect time to enjoy that outdoor weather before we really hit those summer temperatures. But that's all I have for your full look at weather. Back to you guys at the desk.
Glad to hear it, Peter. Legal issues in the Lone Star State. One Texas judge could impact the entire nation.
And the Dallas Mavericks are under investigation. We'll tell you why later in the show.
Ever felt too heavy to overcome? Wish there was a safe place to confide in? Has the weight of stress and anxiety ever felt too heavy to overcome? Wish there was a safe place to confide in? Wish granted. At UNT, we offer counseling and testing services to students located on the 3rd floor of Chestnut Hall. UNT, we're here for you.
Did you know you have access to video equipment like DVDs, video games, and cameras? That's right, you do. Come on down to Chilton Library and fulfill your media dream. Located on the bottom floor next to the student sculpture. Hope to see you there soon. Hey girl, you know you look good. I like the way you move and groove. I'm not sure.
I'm here to rescue you.
Oh, my prince.
No sofás.
This story's going to be awesome.
Maternity wards are closing across the country, forcing expectant mothers into long drives for care. According to a new report, 217 hospitals in the U.S. have closed their labor and delivery departments over the last decade. Over a dozen of those closures have come in the last year alone. The report says the states with the highest loss of access to care are Minnesota, Texas, Iowa, Kansas, and Wisconsin, with each losing more than 10 facilities. Some of the reasons for the closures include money, low birth rates, and staffing issues. More than 2.2 million women of childbearing ages in the U.S. are living in maternity care deserts. This has been linked to an increased risk of maternal death in the year after giving birth. And it doesn't stop right there. Struggles are continuing in the battle around abortion pills. Our anchor, Sydney Jolivet, tells us how the White House reacted to recent rulings made here in Texas. Sydney?
A federal judge in Texas has ignited a new battle over abortion pills that could make its way to the Supreme Court. The judge ruled to suspend the FDA's approval of mifepristone, a medication that has been widely available to women across the nation for over 2 decades. The Department of Justice has already appealed the judge's ruling, and Health and Human Services Secretary Xavier Becerra calls the judge's decision reckless, putting all FDA-approved medicines in jeopardy. CNN's Arlette Sanis has more.
The White House this morning staring down a new battle over abortion.
What you saw by that one judge in that one court in that one state, that's not America.
At the heart of the fight, a Trump-appointed federal judge in Texas suspending FDA approval of mifepristone, siding with the anti-abortion groups who questioned the drug's safety. The ruling is on pause for a few more days, but it could put access to medication abortion in jeopardy across the country.
It is contrary to what makes for good public health policy to allow courts and politicians to tell the FDA what it should do.
The Justice Department quickly filing an appeal and vowing to seek a stay as it winds its way through the courts. At the same time, a federal judge in Washington ruling the FDA must keep the pill available in 17 Democratic-led states, plus the District of Columbia. The competing decisions could set up a showdown at the Supreme Court, 1 year after it ruled a constitutional right to an abortion does not exist. President Biden vowing to fight that decision out of Texas every step of the way. Some Democrats pushing for the FDA to ignore the ruling.
I do not believe that the courts have the authority to have the authority over the FDA that they just asserted. And I do believe that it creates a crisis.
While Republicans warn against it.
The House Republicans have the power of the purse. And if the administration wants to not lead this ruling, not live up to this ruling, then we're going to have a problem.
The HHS secretary appearing to leave the door open.
Everything is on the table. The president said that way back when the Dobbs decision came out. Every option is on the table.
But a spokesperson later walking that back, saying, quote, as dangerous a precedent it sets for a court to disregard FDA's expert judgment regarding a drug's safety and efficacy, it would also set a dangerous precedent for the administration to disregard a binding decision.
For those humans who weren't near any TV at any point this weekend, some major sporting events took over television. Our sports anchor Amanda Malini can tell us a little bit more on what sports fans got to witness. Amanda?
Thanks, Armando. I'll tell you more about what happened over the weekend and where the Mavericks are now after the break.
So a man's been walking in the desert for days at a time. He finally comes across a bar and orders a Coke.
That's not funny.
That was a really good movie.
Yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah, so we have to watch the next one before next class, right?
We do?
I think so, but it's not on Netflix and it's not on Hulu, so...
Man, I don't want to pay for that.
So what do we do?
You think there's a place we could go to get the movie?
I'm not sure, maybe?
Oh, there's a place to get the movie.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah, it's right here on campus. Come on, I'll show you.
what was a weather nightmare at Augusta National, the 87th Masters tournament rounded out yesterday with Jon Rahm winning his very first ever green jacket. He finished 14 under par, holding 4 shots over the second placemen Brooks Koepka and Phil Mickelson. The Mavs lost their final 2 games of the season, one in dramatic fashion on Friday against the Chicago Bulls with a score of 115 to 112. This has led to an investigation being opened by the NBA as the Mavericks decided to bench players in their final game of the season. They had an incentive to lose on Friday while their playoff hopes were technically still alive, and a loss would have secured their top 10 protected first-round pick. On the cusp of the play-in tournament, choosing to rest star players is a bit out of the ordinary, but Jason Kidd claims that the decision comes from ownership. The Mavericks finished 38-43 on the season and will miss the playoffs. Get your brooms out and start sweeping away that El Paso dust. UNT softball swept the Miners of UTEP over the weekend, putting up 6 runs on Thursday and Friday and tacking on 1 more for 7 on Saturday. Friday's matchup saw junior pitcher Mackenzie Wagoner throwing a complete game and going 2 for 3 at the plate, and with a home run, being the first Mean Green player to record a win in a multi-hit game since Jenna Goodrich in 2019. They're 24-16 on the season and 9-6 in conference play, which puts them at 4th in Conference USA. That's all I have for sports. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Amanda. Siblings. You know them, you love them. They could be your partner in crime or your worst nightmare. Today, we celebrate them on National Siblings Day.
Many sibling relationships change and evolve over the years. They can be your partner in crime or maybe your biggest competitor.
Or if you have a sibling like mine, they're always there to catch you when you fall. Regardless, the best way to celebrate Sibling Day is to spend time with one another. And if that isn't feasible, give them a call, send them a thoughtful text, just a small gesture so your brother or sister knows that you're thinking of them. Armando, do you have any siblings?
No. Well, I'm lying. Yes, I do. I'm actually the youngest.
How are you not going to claim your siblings on National Sibling Day?
They're all right. Nah, I'm just kidding.
Oh my goodness. Wow. I have 5 siblings as well. Actually, I have 3 sisters and 2 brothers.
I have no sisters.
It's okay. I'll be your sister today.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for watching ntTV News at noon.
Join us again tonight at 6 and tomorrow at noon here on North Texas Television.